Ladies, gentlemen, and hurrah of all ages, Diablo 4 Season 10 has been one of the best seasons since the game's release as far as I'm concerned personally, and one of the most intriguing parts of it by far is the Chaos Armor unique system. These special variations of existing uniques change up the slots that you can see them go on, give stronger versions of their effects, and the pure existence of this as a system both enables new builds to exist and old builds to just gain a ton of power they would not have previously had if you have the right ones to use with them. That said, today is going to be all about how to maximize your Chaos Armor drops, what drops the most of them, how to do it the fastest and as frequently as possible. Starting off then, where does Chaos Armor come from? Well, in a very general sense, anytime that you have a unique drop, a Chaos unique can drop beside it. This does not replace a normal unique drop. They specifically said that this is essentially a second RNG chance roll that happens after a unique appears. So technically, these can show up anywhere in the game if you get lucky, but that doesn't mean that you can't target them more specifically. In particular, there is one place that you can mainly farm, one thing that you can sort of do eventually, and otherwise just some things to keep an eye out for. The thing to keep an eye out for then is when handing in Whispers of the Dead caches, you can be offered an ancestral collection of chaos. Now, these aren't necessarily a new thing, they are a somewhat rare thing. We have seen 3 of these this season so far, and each time that we've opened one, it has had a piece of Chaos Armor. So this may be a coincidence, or these caches just give Chaos Armor, so just thought I'd give you the heads up. Not to mention there's also Lair Bosses, especially Belial, the king of the Lair Bosses, because Chaos Uniques can spawn anytime that a regular unique spawns. So Lair Bosses can drop Chaos Uniques at a pretty reasonable rate because they drop the most uniques per time spent anywhere in the game. That said, on the PTR, this was the main way that people farmed Chaos Uniques, and the developers specifically tuned down their drop rate from Lair Bosses for that reason, while also bumping up their drop rate from the true intended source. So let's talk about 2 separate proper farm sources for Chaos Uniques. The one that is available very early and definitely more intended is Infernal Hordes. Specifically, if you reach 666 Aether during a Hordes run, you can spend it before the boss at the end to change away from fighting the normal council boss to instead fight Bartuk, the new guy added this season. When you defeat him, he has an extremely high chance of dropping Chaos Uniques. Not quite guaranteed, but very, very high. And the chances scale with difficulty level, so the higher torment that you do it on, the better, and on Torment 4, I find he often has a chance of giving multiple Chaos Uniques. I have even had 3 of them drop in one run before, though that seems to be quite a rare occurrence. You can also have them drop from the greater chest of equipment at the end of the Hordes run too, though the drop chance from that doesn't seem all that high, so your real main goal every time you do Hordes, if you want Chaos Armor, is just to do Bartuk specifically, and to do him as frequently as possible, which means doing Infernal Hordes over and over and always hitting at minimum 666 Aether during your run. So first, let's talk about getting compasses to run this consistently. There is a season blessing that you can put points into that gives you a chance of getting a bonus compass whenever you get another compass to begin with. So this is important to put points into for having constant compasses. Other than that, these have a reasonable chance of dropping at random from Whispers of the Dead cache hand-ins, and a relatively reliable chance of showing up from the Chest of Mysteries, specifically during Helltide, which is the big 250 cinder cost chest. They aren't guaranteed by any means from these, but I've gotten a fair few compasses this way just from farming these chests. As well, world bosses are a decent source of these compasses as well, so that's another reason to try not to miss the world boss timer rotation, as it does tick over constantly. Now that you've got some compasses, let's talk about how to maximize your gains during Infernal Hordes, especially as the activity has been completely reworked this season as far as the actual boons and offerings and the wave structure as well. In the past, there were very clearly defined tiers of boon quality, where there was basically just one path that led to mega success, Hellborn, and everything else was sort of sad in comparison, except for maybe Aether Fiends. But now it's actually a lot more freeform. Sure, there will still be some of them that are better than others, but there are so many synergistic combos available now that as long as you choose with purpose, instead of just choosing randomly, you can easily hit the 666 requirement every run, at least the ones that are 8 waves or more, and often even hit the amount needed to open the greater equipment chest at the end of it too. That to say, a 6-wave compass is difficult to consistently get to 666 with. It's not impossible, but it is difficult. It depends on the RNG, and you have to totally change the way you think about the rewards too. If you have only 6 waves, there's not much time to build synergy combos long term, so you want to focus on flat bonuses, things like the Hellfire Rain giving you some Aether at the end of a wave, or the Burning Butcher spawn for 100 100 straight up Aether in one go, so that is a little bit different, but for 8 and 10 wave Infernal Hordes, it's relatively similar mindset requirements. Before we even get to the choices you make during the run then, Infernal Hordes are best done in groups. If you have a fast moving, high AoE build, you can manage absolutely fine in solo without a problem, but the way that the activity is laid out and planned with the 4 different spawn locations and the random spawning enemies, more players is just better. At least with the assumption that the other players in your group are at a similar power level to you and are going to make good choices for the boons in between waves as well. That said, as far as what goes on during the run, first and foremost, do chaos waves when they are offered. If you are offered a chaos wave, you sort of have to take it. The vast majority of the options of chaos waves give so much Aether as a reward if you are in a fast enough build at least. Things like the one that is just kill Aether Fiends or kill Aether Lords can give a very sizable chunk, most likely more than you would be able to get in a standard wave even if you got great boon synergy. But the main reason is that one of the chaos wave potential options is Aether Goblins. This just spawns essentially infinite Aether Goblins over and over and over for the full duration of the timer. And the way this works, they do not expect you to be able to kill them all before they portal out and disappear, so they oversaturate it, they overpopulate the area. But if you were in a strong enough build with enough AoE, you can kill all the goblins before they disappear, and as a result, you can gain over 1,000 Aether from that single chaos wave. I have only happened to happen a few times, so it is a little bit rare, but every time I see the Goblin Chaos Wave, it gives me over 1,000 Aether, which is an insane amount, and basically means the rest of your choices through the run are just a cherry on top, because you have already hit the entire reward threshold you're trying to reach, so Chaos Waves are very, very good. Outside of that, your main goal is synergy. You can hit 1,000 Aether focusing on Hellborn like people used to do. You can do it by focusing on Aether Fiends. You can do it focusing on Aether Masses. You can even do it focusing on Soul Spires now if you get the right boons offered as well. None of the different event types are actually weak enough that they are not worth investing in, but the main thing is that you need to make a point of purposefully sticking to a theme. If you pick boons for Soul Spires early on, keep taking the boons that appear related to Soul Spires. Though I would add that I only recommend specifically Soul Spire boons early on if it's the one that makes them less frequently appear, or the one that makes them pull enemies in. Both of these make Soul Spires feel a lot better, even if you don't intend to properly build around them the whole time. That said, the most generically useful thing to focus on is the Aether Masses. The masses are super easy to kill when they pop up, and importantly, they branch out into so many different boon options as well. There are loads of boons that are things like Aether Masses can spawn Soul Spires when they are defeated, or Hellborn can spawn when the masses are defeated, or Aether Fiends can spawn, or even a chance for another mass to appear when you defeat a mass. So masses are really good for comboing with the other event types as well, especially if you find the boon that gives you the bonus Aether after you defeat a mass for all boons that you have taken, which is doubled for mass-based boons. So if you build a mass-based run, this can skyrocket hard. And the word mass is starting to lose meaning for me because I've said it too many times, so I'm also going to mention that Hellborn are as good as ever of something to focus on, and I also really want to shout out the Aether Lord options, which are full-on bosses. You can get a line of synergies that boosts Aether Fiends and replaces regular elite spawns with Aether Fiends and makes masses spawn Aether Fiends when they die. Then you can get a boon that makes all Aether Fiends instead spawn as Aether Lords, multiplying the rewards they give each time, which are the full big on bosses, guys. And while this can be a bit intimidating if you have the power level to near insta-kill the Aether Lords, the amount of Aether you get from a good Aether Lord focused run is intensely high. Again, pretty much any way that you build your boons, you can hit massively high numbers in the new version of Infernal Hordes, but only if first, you are in a strong enough build to speed farm the stuff in this activity to begin with. Second, you choose boons that actively work together with each other instead of just picking haphazardly like the one that's always on the left or something. And third, pick up your Chaos Waves whenever they appear. Only a couple of them are mediocre, and they are still not much less than you would get from a normal wave, and importantly, the majority of the Chaos Wave options just offer so much more than you would be able to get normally. Follow these steps, and you should be pretty consistently hitting the requirements to spawn Bartuk at the very least, and that's your best source of Chaos Uniques, until you hit max reputation and without requiring RNG. It is still always going to be a very good source, but there is another one that we should talk about as well. Technically speaking, the fastest farm for this method specifically would be whichever Horde's Compass tier has the least waves that you can comfortably still hit 666 Aether within. If you can hit 666 in a 6-wave Compass consistently, then that would be the best option because it's the fastest to get there. But I'd say most people will struggle to do that with 6 waves, whereas 8 waves is a lot more realistic realistic, and 10 waves is full-on comfortable. The other method then is a lot simpler, but you have to be finished the reputation track before you can even do it. After the reputation track is fully filled out, you get an infinite set of greater infernal cash rewards each time that you get a set amount of reputation. There are nightmare dungeons that have chaos rifts as a modifier on them. It makes multiple chaos rifts show up way more frequently, and this is even better if you have a Nahantu dungeon that has this, as the Nahantu dungeons are long, and so it spawns even more chaos rifts in that dungeon, and you gain a butt ton of both natural reputation itself from closing these chaos rifts through the nightmare dungeon. You also get a bunch of seasonal currency from this, and the currency can then be traded for scrolls that give you reputation, and it's worth noting, if you have the season blessing filled out, that gives you more chaos armor from these greater infernal caches. These will always give you at least one piece of chaos armor. Most often they will give you multiple pieces, so this is super effective if you have already filled out your reputation track specifically, and if you get a little bit of lucky RNG with your nightmare dungeons. That just about does it for today, then everyone, your guide to farming chaos armor uniques in Season 10, and also as a byproduct a bit of a guide for the new revamped Infernal Hordes activity as a whole, which I still hold as being one of my favorite things to do in Diablo 4. I hope you've all enjoyed this then, and let me know your thoughts on the new chaos unique system in the comments down below. Like if you liked the video, subscribe to the notification bell for more, and most importantly, ladies and gentlemen, until next time, stay sweet.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.